222 roll lock is in the game, baby, in a live beta for Overwatch across all platforms. If you play on Xbox, if you play on PlayStation, if you play on PC, you do not have to have access to the PTR. You will be able to go in tonight and play in the 222 roll lock. And boy, oh boy, so sweet. So refreshing. I've been playing around a little bit with the 222 lock in PTR. I am a huge fan of it. I think that it is going to be something that is going to pull a lot of people back into Overwatch. I was on Discord today, and several people saying like jumping back in to Overwatch because of the 222 roll lock. Friends of mine coming back and saying like, hey, tonight I want to hop into Overwatch because of the 222 roll queue. And one of the things that I've noticed a couple things playing in the PTR, and take this all with a grain of salt because the PTR is very much a calmer expression of Overwatch. People get far less tilted in the PTR because they recognize that the games don't matter. It's not actually impacting your SR. So take some of this with a grain of salt, but I've noticed some things. The first is my feeling when I'm playing. I'm not a very anxious individual, and I don't want to overstate that I feel real anxiety when I'm playing Overwatch, but there is like a twinge of a semblance of anxiety when you're playing. And like me, I'm a tank main, and normally it's not a big deal. If I get into a game, I'm generally going to be playing tank. Maybe one game out of 10, I'm having to play a healer, and one game out of like 30, I'm having to play DPS. This removes any form of that anxiety from me, and I'm sure it will for a lot of people, where when I go in, I know, hey, I feel pretty competent with every single tank on the game. If I queue up as a tank, I'm going to be playing a role that I feel very, very comfortable in. So that's awesome. But the second thing is it's inspiring me to go back to my roots and learn some DPS characters. I'm going to have to suffer through a wait time in the queues, and I'm interested to see what those wait times are looking like when we log on tonight. But I've kind of just gone to tank because I'm like, well, I know I'm going to get into a game. Somebody's going to insta-lock these two DPS, and I'm not going to want to play DPS because I want to help my team win. But now I can queue up as a DPS, get in the game, and as we're searching, I'm not going to be competing for one of these slots because I already have it. So it's going to allow me also to branch out into learning other roles. And even, learning I play a couple healers, I think, pretty well, but learning even more healers. And the fact that there's separate SRs tied to each of the roles is awesome. So I can go hard feed on Genji, as I will, multiple times tonight probably. But realize that it's not impacting my tank SR, my tank ranking, which I imagine will be the best ranking out of the three because it's what I'm most competent at. I also noticed in the PTR that it cut down a lot on toxicity because people aren't bitching about what they're going to play and who needs to play what. And that it doesn't eliminate within roles that, you may get two off tanks or two off healers or, two projectile DPS or something like that. And there's going to continue to be infighting regarding those things, but it removes some of the places where people can be toxic. So that's all the good of it. I think it's going to pull people back in. I think it creates a much less toxic experience. It's funny though, man. I've been ingrained in the Overwatch community since the beta. I'm a huge fan of the competitive scene. Big fan of the Overwatch League, and the community, the Overwatch community is just hilarious to me. There's no pleasing them. There's no satisfying them. It's hilarious to me. There's already people complaining about the meta right now with the 222 roll lock, and they're like, oh man, it's just Hog Orisa, and it's Reaper May. There's so much May. It's all just chain CC, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, look, you got to step back and realize if you didn't like Dive, you didn't like Goats, you didn't like Double Sniper, you didn't like triple DPS, if you didn't like somber goats, and if you don't like bunker, and if you don't like this, I've been hearing it referred to as the pulled pork meta, and I am that's the one that gets my vote. If you've been a part of this game for this long, and there's not a single meta where you're like, all right, this is the one that I really like, maybe it's just time to admit you don't like Overwatch. Like, if you're watching Overwatch League now and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just mirror comp after mirror comp with this stuff. Like, maybe it's just time to realize you don't like Overwatch. Yo, what is up? Make me a mod. Maybe next time, man. Stop by the next time. Ask me, and we'll see. All right, but for now, we're going to do this. But here's the thing. As long as there are no hero bans, and as long as there is the ability to switch mid-game, there's always going to be a combination of 6 heroes that will be the strongest combination of 6 heroes available in the game. Always. And especially on the pro side of things, they are always going to play the strongest combination of 6 heroes that they can to give them the best chance of winning. That's just the nature of Overwatch. So it's not that you don't like this meta or don't like that meta or don't like this. You may just need to admit, like, you don't like mirror compositions in the way that Overwatch is currently set up with its character pools and the way that you can just switch in between games. There's always going to be that combination. And so in the pro scene, you are always going to see one composition dominate in terms of playtime. Doesn't mean there isn't some variety within it, but there's always going to be at least some level of some level of mirror compositions being rolled out in Overwatch League. So this change was never gonna save us from that. And I'm not sure exactly how you go about trying to save that. The big thing people are kind of railing on now is, oh, well, the problem with Overwatch isn't role locks. It's not goats. It's not, these things. It's the fact that there's so many objective types that, like, it's all about point presence. And so you just try to get as much healing, as much sustain, as the largest health pools, like, to have presence on the point. And I'm like, this is how the game has been since the day it came out. Like, it's just the nature of it. And yes, the game has evolved to be like health pools and point presence and those sorts of things. But, like, unless we just want to look at Overwatch and say we got to fundamentally change everything about it, like, I don't think that's going to get solved. And I don't think it's a bad thing either. I've thoroughly enjoyed this stage 4 of the Overwatch League. I think it's fun to watch. And I think, the next stage that rolls around, like when we get in the next season of Contenders, like, we're going to see a different composition rolling around. We should be cool with that.